Hi guys, rachaelcprhair here. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, I say to you, welcome. And today we're going to do some hair talk, and the talk we're going to have today is about single strand knots. One of the biggest questions that I get asked all the time, just from I'm talking complete strangers walking up the street, just so many times, is how do I prevent my hair from tangling while I'm wearing a wash and go? In general, yes, I wear a wash and go almost all the time, and I do not really suffer very badly from tangling and from single strand knots because, number one, when you wear your hair in a wash and go all the time, your hair tends to get used to it, and so it just follows the routine. I have my routine down where it's about 7 minutes that it takes me to go through my hair if I'm doing it in the shower. If I am doing my hair, like setting my curls at my desk, then it takes longer simply because I don't have the water helping me. But in the shower, it takes me about 7 minutes, which not about, it's 7 minutes because I timed it once because I wanted to see where I had progressed to when it comes to doing a wash and go on my hair. Because in the beginning, it was not like that. It took me a very long time to train my hair to be that way. But back to single strand knots. Single strand knots are actually one strand of hair that has knotted around itself, but the reason that you get single strand knots is because you have split ends. Split ends are the sole source of single strand knots. There's no other hair that's trapped into the hair. It's just that one strand winding around itself because it is frayed. And with curly hair, it's going to happen. In general, people with curly hair get single strand knots if they are allowing those ends to get past the first bend of the hair. So I have very tight curls, so it's very easy for me to get single strand knots, which is why I trim my hair or cut my hair, shape it very often. If I find a single strand knot in my hair, the last thing that I'm going to do is pull it off, because when you pull it off, you just create another problem that's happening right away. And the more you pull them off, the more you end up with single strand knots or just frayed ends. In the same way, if you have on a sweater that has like little lint balls on it, if you just pull the little lint balls off, you get more and more and more lint balls. Whereas if you were to just take the time, take a razor or a clothing shaver and shave down the areas that are affected by the lint balls, you're going to make the garment appear much more nice, and it's not going to get those little beads on it right away because you are actually handling it the right way. It is the very same when it comes to your hair. You want to make sure that you do not leave any of the damage on the hair. So sometimes that does mean that you have to get a bigger trim in the beginning when you start to watch it, because you can't trim off some of the split, because if you trim off some of the split, you're just delaying it by a couple of days or maybe a couple of weeks. And then as soon as you get more growth, that hair is still splitting, and so it's just going to wind around itself again. Whereas if you were to cut out all of the damaged hair, then you will end up with hair that has no split at the bottom, and you get the opportunity to continue to hydrate the hair. The hair will hydrate a lot easier because you don't have a frayed end that's soaking up all the moisture before it can get anywhere else in the hair. So that is a big thing. Trim your hair and trim beyond the splits in your hair in order for the trim to be effective to prevent single strand knots. It can be frustrating when you're trying to grow your hair out to say, oh, now I have to trim it all over again. That can be very, very frustrating. But once you do get that major trim, make sure that you are actually keeping up with it. I would say in a journal, because then you can definitely look back 6 months in the past and just say, oh, in 3 months ago, I noticed that my hair was starting to get rough and I trimmed it. So now it's another 3 months, I'm starting to see that it needs to be trimmed again. And that is how you keep up with your hair and making sure you're staying ahead of the damage so that you don't wait until your hair is beyond needing a trim before you do it, because that's how you end up with all of the problems with single strand knots. So trim your hair, trim beyond the damage on the ends of your hair, and keep record of how long in between you need to go with your trims, because no one's trim is the same as someone else's trim. Because if you use conditioner in your hair every week, you deep condition your hair, you are hydrating your hair at a wonderful rate, you are not using a blow dryer, a heating tool of any kind on your hair, you are not going to need a trim as quickly as I do, because I use heating tools on my hair. I use a blow dryer on my hair. And so definitely you're going to need a trim later than I would need a trim. I would need mine first. Whereas someone else who maybe uses a flat iron every once in a while and things like that, they're going to have a lot more damage on their ends. And so they are going to need a trim quicker than I will. So no two people are the same, because everyone's routine can be different. The other thing that you want to do to prevent your ends from fraying, and so getting the single strand knots, is making sure that when you wear clothing that, like this top I have on right now, it is 100% cotton. This will sap out all of the moisture in my ends. I don't know why that baby is barking like that. Oh, I do see why. There were 2 squirrels playing in the tree down here. That's why he's barking. Okay, I understand. Okay, so if you have on something that is cotton like this and your hair is resting on your clothing, it is going to sap up your moisture, definitely. At this stage of my hair, I always noticed that I would have problems with retaining my length right in this area. This part of my hair would always get really dry. And then I started noticing my hair in my clothing. When I would take it out or when I would wash it, I would notice my curls in my clothing. I said, okay, so this is what's happening to my hair. I found it, and so I fixed the problem. So now if I wear something like this, I'm not going to have my hair down on my shoulders all day long. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to very loosely pin my hair up when I have on top like this. And I'm just going to make sure that I just keep my hair away from my shoulders, so that all of my moisture isn't going into my shirt. My shirt does not need the moisture. And so that is going to prevent me from having splits. I was cutting my hair all the time in this area, and then I realized that it was the clothing that I was wearing. So if I'm going to wear my hair down all day, I have to make sure that I have on something that's not going to absorb all of my moisture. So I have to put on something that is of a non-natural fabric, like polyester, or what's something with lycra in it with a very tight weave. But anything that's silk or cotton or wool is going to sap all of my moisture from my hair. And so that's what I have to consider, because that is going to give me split ends, which is going to give me knots. And I noticed sometimes I would just pull at my hair like this, and I would say, oh, there you go, there's a knot. But it's all right here, just like resting on my clothes. So those are all things that have helped me so much as far as my getting my trimming beyond the damaged part of my hair. And then I also get a trim on a regular basis, so that I am staying ahead of my trim. And that has been very successful in preventing me from getting tons and tons and tons of single strand knots. When I do get them, there's one here, one there, and that's just because it was something missed in my trim. And when I find them, I hold on to them until I find some shears and I cut them out, just so that they do not cause a problem. But if you pull at them, they will definitely continue to split all the way down. So I hope this information was useful, and I hope you come back soon for another video. The next video that I'm going to do along this line is going to be on retaining length and different practices that we do that are really good, that actually prevent us from retaining our length. So I'll see you again soon, guys. Don't forget to hit that bell if you want to be informed when I post another video. Thanks a lot. Bye, guys.